to go, thanks, Mayor. Right to go, Mayor, I think.
Okay, thank you. Well, good evening and welcome to this meeting of the Wellington Shire Council on Tuesday, the 20th of October, 2020. And in accordance with, and I'll find the page I'm supposed to be looking at, in accordance with COVID-19 physical distancing requirements remain in place, the Minister's Good Practice Guidelines MGPG1 virtual meetings issued by the Minister for Local Government continue to apply, pursuant to Section 87 of the Local Government Act 2020. These guidelines ensure that local government decision-making can continue in line with COVID-19 requirements, and further details can be found on the Local Government Victoria website. These guidelines took effect from the 1st of May 2020 and will remain in place through to the 1st of November 2020. While members of the public can no longer attend meetings in person, we have provided options for you to interact with us virtually via our council meetings page on the Wellington Shire Council website. You are able to interact with council in two ways. One, email through a specific question or comments relating to a particular council agenda item no later than 1 p.m. on the day of the council meeting, or for general communications with council via the council's online web form early in the meeting to ensure that your submissions can be dealt with at the end of the meeting. While we face a new way of gathering, we thank you for your continued support and look forward to a new way of keeping in touch with all of Wellington Shire. And from a procedural basis, we'll now in fact commence with a roll call. So as I'm reading it off my screen, Councillor Ripper.
Present, and I can hear and see the councillors and other people. Thank you.
Councillor McCubbin.
Yes, I can see and hear you, Mr. Mayor.
Councillor Marr.
I can hear and see you, thank you, Mayor.
Councillor Rossetti.
I can see and hear you, and I can hear some councillors without needing their microphone.
Councillor Crosley.
I can see and hear you, Mayor.
Thank you. Councillor Stevens. Ground control to Councillor Stevens. We might come back to you, Councillor Stevens.
Does it help if I take my audio on? I can hear and see you, Mr. Mayor.
Good job, thank you, Councillor Bye.
Yes, Mayor, I can see and hear you.
Councillor Hole. Councillor Hole.
Sorry, I'll get that little microphone there. I can see and hear you.
Yeah, thank you,
Mr. Mayor.
And the CEO, you're present as well.
Yes, Mayor.
Thank you. I've covered the information at the start, so if we can, no need to stand for the acknowledgement on the prayer. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of this land, the Gunai-Kurnai people, and pay respects to their elders, past and present. Almighty God, we ask your blessing upon the Wellington Shire Council, its councillors, officers, staff and their families. We pray for your guidance in our decisions so that the true good of the Wellington Shire Council may result to the benefit of all residents and community groups. Amen. We have no apologies, no declarations of conflict of interest. Moving on then to item A4, confirmation of minutes of the previous council meeting. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor. I move the council adopt the minutes and resolutions of the ordinary council meeting of the 6th of October 2020.
Thanks, Councillor Bye. I understand Councillor Crosley, you'll second that. Thank you very much. Is that opposed? If not, that motion is carried. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on, there's no business arising from the previous meeting.
None, Mayor.
No late or urgent items, CEO.
None, Mayor.
No notices on motion. No joint petitions or joint letters.
No, Mayor.
No invited addresses, presentations or acknowledgements. No questions on notice. We might move on then to item A11, says he flicking his pages as quickly as he can, which is the Mayor and Councillor report. And before you move that, Councillor Crosley, if I might just make a brief comment, and I'd like to convey my thanks to all of the councillors for their continuing participation and investment, and I might reflect on that a little later. During this particular period, we get to report various attendances. And interesting, again, I note that the native timber industry occupied some degree of our time again, as it does now at the end of our 4-year term, just as it did at the very beginning of this 4-year term. So it's been the gift that keeps on giving, has been the issues surrounding the timber industry. I also want to highlight a number of attendances by councillors in regard to innovative energy, waste management and the circular economy, and the sorts of issues which our emerging economy will face. And before I hand over to Councillor Crosley, it would be remiss of me not to note the MAV Councillor Service Awards and to acknowledge Councillor Hull's 20 years of service. Can I continue to thank all the councillors for their community service and support, and wish them well for the upcoming elections. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that the Mayor and Councillors' report be noted.
Understand, Councillor Ripper, you'll second that?
Yes, I second that, Mayor.
Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Crosley.
Thank you, Mayor. Just reflecting on the differences, the sameness and the differences, I suppose, in the 4 years, that the usual things like rec reserves and the various committees that are usually on board with council, it's interesting to see this shift of how many items were focused on new energy, like the New Energy Jobs Funds project, community energy innovation group meetings, bioenergy project workshops. So that's been a real shift, I think, in the last 4 years. And it just shows the potential that Wellington has of grasping a new green energy future. So I'm feeling very positive in these troubled times that we've got a bright future there, especially in Wellington, which really focuses on the terrific assets that we have, natural assets in agribusiness, but also in wind and solar benefits that will really create new jobs, which is really important. But it's been that real shift that those items weren't in previous terms of council, such a focus on new energy, which is really exciting. It's also, as you say, timber industry has been taking a lot of time, and also to actually have the discussions with the Honourable Darren Chester MP on the timber transition and review of the environment protection and biodiversity. I know yourself, Mayor, and Councillor Hull and Councillor Ripper have been spending quite a bit of time on this item with the task force, and we know it's a crucial part of our economy and certainly very important for Hayfield. It really lives and dies on the timber mill and the timber industry, with both the workers directly involved in the innovative and contemporary manufacturing business there of ash, and also the various contractors that are also employed throughout the Shire, both in the north and also down in Yarram area as well, and across Gippsland. So a vital area that we need to have focus on. And also the same with Council Mars, involved in waste and recycling. Very pivotal time at the moment to get that right and move into a new area where our waste is not seen as waste, but as a resource that we can recycle and really improve that sector of our community. Again, a change in what we've seen over the last term of council. I'd like to congratulate my colleagues, as this is the last meeting. It's been a great privilege to work with all the councillors that contribute, I think, bringing all their individual skills to make a great team. I've really enjoyed the experience. And I'd like to really congratulate the Mayor on his last 2 years of leadership. It's been very difficult. I mean, You've had a 100-year event with the COVID-19 as a challenge for all of our community, and also fires that threatened in 2019 threatened Rosedale and Longford, Boysdale, Valencia Creek, and then the 2020 Black Summer, not one black day, but Black Summer, and also the way the team had to swing in to support our neighbours in East Gippsland and also deal with the smoke and the other hazards and the potential threat of fire as well. So not an easy time to be mayor. I know it's a huge responsibility, but you carried it very well, and thank you for your leadership.
Thank you, Councillor Crossley. Okay, did we got that through? So that's done. And moving on to the Chief Executive Officer's report. Councillor Hull?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm going to move that the Chief Executive Officer's report be received.
I understand Councillor Ripley will second that.
I'll second that, Mayor.
Is that opposed? If not, that's carried. Councillor Hull.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. It's interesting having a look at the items that's presented here in this report. It's been another very, eventful month in the calendar of the CEO's life. It's also been one that's taken a lot of challenges up as each had to handle, and some of that was alluded to by Councillor Crossley. Look at the overall work that he's been involved with on behalf of Wellington and behalf of the council. We see that his meeting book has been varied, from meeting with state and federal government representatives, and he's been meeting with private enterprise, been involved with the Timber Task Force, plus he's had his regional meetings and of course his statewide meetings through Rural Councils Victoria. And on top of that, he's had the daily chore of trying to keep all our staff and officers, I won't say gainfully employed, but able to handle the changing face that we've had so far because of the virus. And I'd like to thank the CEO and all the staff that work with him for the way that they have presented our meetings, how they presented the information, how they have brought together briefing sessions to keep all councillors in the knowledge of what may happen, what should happen and what can happen. And I'd also like to finish up by saying to all you fellow councillors around the table, it's been great working with you for the last 4 years. You're not the worst council I've been on, but I've been pleased to be able to sit down and have a party pie with you when the time arose. So for those of you who are re-nominating or have renominated, all the best. And for Alan, you're going on to other pastures. Wish you good health and really good time for the future.
Thanks, Malcolm. If we could move on. Oh, sorry, Councillor Hull. I'll get this right eventually.
That's all right, but for formality of way tonight.
So, thank you very much. If we can move on to item C1.2, September 2020 Council Performance Report. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I will move that Council receive and note the September 2020 Council Performance Report as attached.
I understand, Councillor Crossley, you're happy to second that? Gotcha. I got you visually on that one.
You? Sorry, yes, I am happy to second that.
Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. Well, from a financial point of view, I think we're well on track for this financial year. I note that there's been some minor COVID-19 impacts affecting both income and expenditure, but so far we're going along quite steadily. From finances point of view, from capital works projects, I think there's one of our major projects is proceeding very satisfactorily, the Cameron Stadium redevelopment, and that's on track to be completed in March 2021. I note that there's been started work at the Stratford Rec Reserve female-friendly change rooms. I also note that works are continuing on the Maffra streetscape. That's another major project. And the last thing I'll just point out is that, and I might have even said this before, I apologise if I have, that we've just about got the Tarra Trail Stage 2 completed, and it should be finished before Christmas, Mr Mayor. So from a performance point of view, I think we can be very pleased of the way things are going, and that the council, the outgoing council's leaving the financial performance and the capital works program in a great position for the new incoming council. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. We might move on to item C2.1, Assembly of Councillors. Councillor By.
Thanks, Mayor. I move that Council note and receive the attached Assembly of Council records for the period 28th of September 2020 to the 11th of October 2020.
I understand Councillor Rossetti, you second that?
Happy to second that, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Rossetti. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor By?
No, that's all good, Mayor.
Thank you. Moving on to item C2.2, Audit and Risk Committee. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council receive and note the minutes in brief at Attachment 1 and the confidential Attachment A and Audit and Risk... Oh, no, it's not. Actually, I can't even read my own writing. Sorry, I apologise. And the confidential Attachment Audit and Risk Committee minutes of the 24th of September 2020 and plus item 2 as set out in the Council agenda. So I'll move that. So moved, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. I understand Councillor Maher, you'll second that?
I certainly do. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you, Councillor Maher. Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yes, thank you, Mayor. I'd just like to make the observation that the Audit and Risk Committee has been working quite satisfactorily. We have a good mix of people on that with our independent members and your good self and myself. And I'd just like to, the only other thing I'd like to say, Mayor, is thank you for your service to the Audit and Risk Committee. I haven't checked this. I know you've obviously been serving on it as a councillor for 4 years, and I think your prior period, you'll have to just complete that for me, Mr Mayor. It must be at least 3 or longer years, or how are you?
2 lifetimes, Councillor Stevens, I think it was, to be exact.
Okay, well, thank you. Thank you for your service to the Audit and Risk Committee. Your knowledge and expertise has been highly regarded by all the members over your term. So best wishes.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. I'd like to acknowledge that committee. It's a good, hard-working committee, and I've been delighted to, in fact, have started my relationship with Wellington as an independent member on that committee, which gave me perhaps an appropriate background to have a crack at this job eventually. So thanks for your kind words, Councillor Stevens. Moving on to item C2.3, the in-principle approval of the draft 2019-20 financial and performance statements. And again, I'm in your hands, Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move that Council approve, in principle, the draft 2019-2020 financial and performance statements as attached and authorise 2 councillors from the Audit and Risk Committee to certify the statements in their final form.
I understand you'd like to second that, Councillor Ripper?
Yes, Mayor, I will second that.
Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Stevens.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor. Look, I'd just like to thank the CEO, the General Manager of Corporate Services and the Manager of Finance for their work, and their staffs for their work on this document. It's a big job. It's been made extra hard this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'd like to thank the external auditors. They made the comment that they found it, particularly hard this year too, to actually complete the audit, and because of the COVID-19, I should qualify that, because of the COVID-19 pandemic, they received they of course had a confidential chat with the Audit and Risk Committee when this item came up. And the external auditors were more than happy with the presentation of the accounts, the way it was presented, the explanations they got, and so I think we can safely move this document on to the presentation to Parliament in knowledge that it's been completed in an appropriate manner, Mr Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Stevens. Moving on to item C2.4, section 11A, Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, open brackets, Planning and Environment Act 1987, only close brackets, Anthony Greenfield. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council, in the exercise of the powers conferred by Section 2.4 of the Local Government Act 1989, the Act, and the other legislation referred to in the attached S11A Instrument of Appointment and Authorisation, the instrument, resolve that 1. Council Officer Anthony Greenfield be appointed and authorised as set out in the instrument as provided at Attachment 1, and 2, the instrument be signed and sealed by the Chief Executive Officer.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. I understand, Councillor Ripper, you're happy to second that?
Yes, Mayor, I will second that.
Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. The Planning and Environment Act 1987 decrees that a resolution of Council is to authorise and appoint an authorised officer. So this motion fulfils that requirement. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to item C3.1, Central Gippsland Tourism, CGT, close brackets, quarterly report, July to September 2020. Councillor Marr.
Thank you, Mayor. I move that Council receive the report from Central Gippsland Tourism, CGT, for the quarter July to September 2020.
Thanks, Councillor Marr. I understand you'll second that, Councillor Bye.
Yeah, happy to second that, Mayor.
Is that motion opposed? If not, the motion is carried. Councillor Marr.
This report is part of the MOU between Council and the CGT, which requires that a report be submitted quarterly, and this report fulfils that expectation. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Moving on to item C3.2, the Fingerboards Mine Project Council submission. I understand, CEO, that we have a number of gallery and email and other comments that have been received. Do you wish to report on those before we consider this matter?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, we received 10 submissions through our comments process, and they've been summarised, Mayor, and sent to all councillors, so you should have those. Normally we would read them all out, but there's, as I said, 10 of them. But I'll just provide a very brief summary, Mayor. So we have one from Charlotte King, basically disappointed councillors supporting the mine. Sally Court, similar. A lot of issues, Mayor, raised around, obviously around issues impacting on the environment and the amenity of residents, trees, etc. Mandy Uri is another one, a fairly extensive submission against, again, Mayor, and again around water, destruction of habitat and risk to waterways, Ramsar wetlands. Gail Noble has also provided a submission against, requesting council do not vote for the mine. Long-term issues around respiratory health of residents and the Linano Garden area. A number of other issues, Mayor. I am being fairly, as I said, paraphrasing these. Jennifer Parker also against similar issues, lack of community consultation, though not clear whether it's, presumably she means on the EES. Canna Bowers, Mayor, also opposed, would like, just concerned about the impacts of the mine on climate change, and also wondering if it's appropriate for whether council should actually defer it until after the local government election, as this is the last meeting of this council. Lorraine Watt opposes the mine. Again, issues around water, depleting river water, concerns of the impact on agriculture and ruin the clean green image. Kathy Mansfield, again, concerns around the environment, risks to the water table, etc. So 9 submissions against, Mayor, and I do apologise if any of those submitters are listening. As I said, I've only very briefly paraphrased it, but I can assure them that all of the issues they raised have been put in one table and sent to the councillors prior to the meeting. And the final one, Mayor, was from Margaret and Max Treasure, who in fact have advised they've been to all community sessions and providing environmental and rehab concerns are addressed, and a couple of other issues there, bank guarantees, etc. They actually support the project as it would provide direct employment crucial for the area. So that's a summary of 10 of the submissions, Mayor, and again, all have been sent to councillors for information.
Thank you, CEO. I understand, Councillor Hole, you're prepared to put this motion?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. I'm going to move that Council endorse the attached submission to the Fingerboards mine project.
Thanks, Councillor Hole. Seconded, Councillor Bye.
Yeah, happy to support that, Mayor.
Is the motion opposed?
Yes, the motion is opposed, Mayor.
The motion is opposed. Councillor Crossley, Councillor Ripper.
Yes.
Thank you very much. Councillor Hole, you speak to this motion now?
Yeah, just briefly. Thank you, Mayor. Firstly, thank you for those people who have put in submissions. It's greatly appreciated to get people's thoughts from out there in the world. But one of the things I'd like to raise is that the Calbar operations are seeking an approval to develop a mine, and it's in the East Gippsland Shire. Our submission neither supports nor rejects this decision. The decision will be made by the Minister and the East Gippsland Council. However, our submission, very cleverly crafted and thought out, seeks to protect the interests of all Wellington residents. The environmental effects statement is being administered by the state government. Our submission, which covers the protection of infrastructure, job opportunities, environmental impacts to be mitigated. It seeks that day rail transport be used. It asks all objections to be assessed, and also for the protection of the chain of ponds through Providence Ponds. Its submissions close on the 28th of October, and at this stage our new council won't be put into power until the 17th of November. We won't have the new council to get this in by the 28th. This submission going in now on behalf of the Wellington community will remain within the formal structure to defend and advocate for any future decisions. So for Wellington to maintain a place at the table for the whatever may eventuate down the track, this submission is vital.
Thanks, Councillor Hole. Councillor Crossley, Councillor Ripper to speak against the motion. Councillor Crossley first.
Thank you, Mayor. I think it's to clarify some points that Councillor Hole made, that the East Gippsland is also going to make a submission, but it's sought for a deferral after the council elections. And I think they consider that it's too close for the current council, both on their last meeting and just like on our last meeting, to make a decision that's going to impact the community and perhaps the newly elected council. So I think it would be more appropriate, although to leave it to the newly elected council to deal with this matter. Certainly, I think it's important that we do have a submission, and as I say, if we seek permission to make a submission at a later date, as East Gippsland has, and receive that permission, I think that would be the more appropriate way to go. I've had 4 or 5 extra submissions to myself today and previously on this matter, and I think it's up to councillors to listen to their community when they raise their concerns. And we won't, as I say, lose our opportunity if we ask for permission to go forward at a later time. I think it's also important to say and to reiterate that we are not making a decision per se on the program, but the submission does say in the last paragraph, in conclusion, Council supports the progression of the project subject to appropriate regulatory consideration and controls. So it is quite supportive, and that may not be reflective of our community's views. I also think it's important that even though we know that we can make this decision or this submission at this time, and we won't be impinging on any rules of caretaker mode, but I think it's important to consider, is it the right decision to make, and is it the appropriate decision to make at this time? I think it's an area that is of great concern to the community. I have concerns, and I know as our council colleagues have concerns about the potential of truck movements and the delays perhaps in using the rail system, because there'd be fair need of infrastructure applied to that. But I think it's really important that we allow the new council to deal with this item and to actually allow the community to have voice, which they obviously feel they need. So I think although they have the opportunity, and I encourage them all to make submissions to the EES, and the state government will be perusing those and make a determination on the project. But I think that our community says they want to have a voice in this space, so I think it's appropriate that the new council deal with this item. And I'd just like to say, if this motion is defeated, I'd like to foreshadow a further motion on the subject.
Thanks, Councillor Crossley. Councillor Bye.
Thanks, Mayor. I think Councillor Hole covered a fair bit, but look, I'm the same as Councillor Hole's comments, that I'm quite happy with the submission that we've put in and the answer to what is needed, as long as we fully support the environmental effects and the studies are done correctly. I 100% agree. We've got to look after our roads in the Wellington Shire. The last thing I want is a lot of B doubles coming through Stratford through the roundabouts. So that needs to be done correctly. And also support jobs, as long as the jobs are in an area that won't hurt our environment and hurt the Wellington residents. So I think delaying putting a submission of what our thoughts are, I don't think the new council will change anything. So I support just getting it done now.
Thanks, Councillor Bye. Councillor Ripper.
Thank you, Mayor. I'm just thanks, Councillor Crossley, for your comments, and thank you for Councillor Hole, Councillor Bye. I'm looking up the word submission. The noun is the action of accepting or yielding to a superior force or to the will or authority of another person. That may or may not be relevant. I've had quite a few local people contact me. I'm probably the closest councillor to where the Calabar mine mineral sands is proposed. The word proposed, it hasn't been authorised by the state government yet. And I have to take on board what the community are talking about. That is why they have community representatives on council, councillors. So I have taken them at their word of what they're saying to me. And they are at this stage, as the CEO has read out, and I've also received an email from a farmer who farming vegetables with what can happen with winds, etc. Everyone talks about the food bowl. We've got at Lindenow. Wonderful. Food bowl. And then jobs. All is coming down from our Prime Minister, jobs. We all want people to have jobs, because if you don't have jobs, you don't have money, you can't flourish as a family. But we have to weigh up. Every time we make a decision, it's followed by consequences. So from what I'm hearing, and for this to be sat on the agenda at this time, I don't want to be voting on something as important as this that I may or may not be able to follow through. And I know that there are other decisions have been made whilst I've been in council, but I may not be there to follow through on them either. But this is controversial, and this is why I am voting against it, against the submission to be sent off, that we are in caretaker mode, and on the item C 3.2, the recommendation decision is not a major policy decision or a significant decision as defined by Council's election period policy. However, it is controversial, and to all those people and those other people who may not have got the Gippy Times today, remember there's a lot of people don't live in town. They might get the Gippy Times and they're not on Facebook or they're not on other electronic devices, but they're all very important people within the North Ward and within the whole of the Wellington Shire. So this is why I am voicing that I am not going to follow the recommendation that Council endorse the attached submission for the Fingerboards Mine project. Thank you, Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor Ripper. And back to move on then to Councillor Hull to close this debate before we vote. Councillor Hull.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. Look, thanks for everybody who made comments, and it's good to hear different points of view. It was also interesting to hear that not all submissions we received were against it. And so I'm just wondering whether the objections are fear of the unknown or not in my backyard, the NIMBY method. Some of those comments that came in objecting to it, those people don't live anywhere near the mine. And so I'm starting to wonder whether it's fear of the unknown is what caused the objections. Well, I believe that the submission, if and remember this, if the government will allow us to have an extended date, may come back at the next meeting and be dealt with in another way or whatever way it might happen. But if the government doesn't allow us this extension from the 28th, well then Wellington's thoughts are not there for the record to be dealt with by the committee that's looking at this particular investment. So I support the recommendation. I support it because it has to be passed to protect Wellington Shire, and not knowing where this environmental effect statement and government recommendations are going to finish up.
Thanks, Councillor Hull. So I'll put the motion. Those in favour? We need a process to deal with this. So those in favour?
Yes.
Yes.
Councillor Rossetti?
Councillor Bye.
Councillor Bye. Councillor Hull? Councillor
Hull?
Councillor Hull?
Councillor Stevens?
Councillor Stevens? And Councillor Hall. Those opposed?
Councillor Ripper?
Councillor Crossley?
Councillor Crossley?
Councillor McCubbin.
Councillor McCubbin?
And Councillor Marr?
Councillor Marr.
Good for trying twice. Good on you.
On that basis, the motion is carried.
So, Mayor, just confirming that vote, just in case there was any, because it was 5-4.
It was
just to confirm, my record is the same as yours, Mayor. For the motion, I had Councillors Hall, Rossetti, Bye, Hull and Stevens.
That's
and
right.
against the motion was Councillors Ripper, Crossley, Marr and McCubbin.
That's right.
Just to be clear for the record, Mayor, given it was a close vote.
Yep, so we've got that. And given we've recorded that, I think that takes the place of needing to call for a division and going through that process again. So the motion is carried. Okay, moving on to, I think that's just about it for the meeting. There's nothing, no need to move into closed session, I believe. So in the process now of closing the meeting. So I just wanted to make some comments. Councillor McCubbin?
Yeah, Mr Mayor, I imagine you're making some comments too. I'd like to suspend standing orders, or have your permission to say a few words about, in regard to your service as well. So do you want me to move them, we suspend standing orders, or what would you like to do?
Oh, well, I'm happy to do it either way. I'm happy for it just to be as informal as possible, if you like, Councillor McCubbin. So I'm in your hands, so unless there's any objection to that.
Thank you, Councillor Hall. Look, I just want to say a few words, if I may. I'm not going to say too much about the council. I know the ratepayers don't want to hear us talk about ourselves. That the vote of the ratepayers will happen this weekend, and so be it. And we look forward to that vote eagerly. But you, Councillor Hall, have decided to move on, and so it is very appropriate that we, as councillors, say a few words of you to your service over the last 2 years. I'm really echoing what Councillor Crosley and others have said before, that you've been exemplary in the last couple of years in moving us all together as a team. It's been a very difficult time, both with the fires and, of course, with COVID. It has been very, very difficult. But you've maintained your sense of humour. You've maintained the collegiality of the group. You've kept us all connected, and you've kept us all informed. And you've done as best as you can to meet with as many ratepayers as you possibly can, and to represent our shire in a manner for which you can be very proud. I know personally it has been a very difficult time with the loss of your beloved partner, Jill, and indeed the fact that your family's in Melbourne and you have been somewhat ostracised from them during this COVID time. May I say that all of them and myself are very proud of you and what you have done. I'm very proud to not only call you my mayor, but my friend. And it has been a pleasure to serve with you the last couple of years. I thank you very much for your valued service to the Wellington Shire, and look forward to happier days in the future. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thanks, Councillor McCubbin.
Yeah.
Thanks, Darren. That is appreciated. Can I, in closing the meeting, then just take the opportunity to thank and acknowledge my councillor colleagues for the outstanding, collegiate and respectful way that this council has conducted business. I want to acknowledge Councillor Crosley for the first 2 years of mayoral leadership, and to thank you all for allowing me the opportunity and privilege to serve as mayor for the last 2 years. Again, to all councillors and my coastal comrades, a big thank you. I also want to acknowledge all of the Wellington team, including the CEO and the senior team and every staff member, for the absolute commitment they've displayed. In my experience and observation, Wellington is incredibly well served, and I thank each and every one of you for that. Finally, can I wish every councillor success in the election process. Wellington, I believe, will be well served if you are back around this virtual table in the next month or so. And on that basis, I'd be delighted to simply declare at 6:41 this meeting closed.